I was ostracized by the legal industry and unemployed at home. My wife, Sophia, not only didn't blame me but also supported me to focus on taking care of the kids at home, saying she would earn money to support the family later. I was very touched, but how could I shift all the family responsibilities to her, who was already pregnant? I secretly went for an interview without telling her, but I ran into her at the company, leaning against another man and laughing with her big belly. The interviewer reminded me not to look around, saying that was the president and his wife. I was stunned for a moment, and when I came to my senses, I only felt it was all my fault. She must be forced by life to be with someone else. It's all my uselessness to blame. I went to find that president, wanting him to stay away from my wife. Unexpectedly, my wife happened to see me. She had always been gentle and polite in front of me, but now she suddenly changed her face and yelled at me. She said, "You don't really think the child is yours, do you? I'm about to marry a rich man. How could I have a child with someone like you?" Then I realized she just wanted me to work for free, taking care of her and someone else's child. I felt down and left a divorce agreement before leaving home alone. On the road, a female boss called me. She asked me to be a children's companion for her son, with a monthly salary of 100,000. I went for the interview, only to find out that the female boss was actually the fiancée of the president. She politely said, "I'm sorry, but you may not meet our requirements." Although I had anticipated this, I still couldn't help but feel upset again. After a year of job hunting, I've heard similar things many times, but this time it was harder to accept because the person who interviewed me was a junior I had mentored during my graduate studies. I was his team leader back then, and now he is 3 years younger than me, but has become the department manager who can decide whether to hire me. Seeing that I was feeling down, he came out to comfort me and said, "Senior, why don't you try working in another city?" I sensed there was more to his words and asked, "What happened?" He pulled me aside and whispered, "Your resume is clearly the best among this group, but there was a specific instruction not to hire you. Did you accidentally offend someone?" This statement hit me like a bolt from the blue, and I was stunned. No wonder. I've always thought I was quite capable, yet I haven't found a job in a year. I tried to calm the confusion and surprise in my heart, turned to thank him for telling me this, and suddenly saw a familiar person standing at the door. "Why is my wife here?" "Sophia?" I whispered her name, only to be suddenly tapped on the shoulder by a junior. "Don't look. That's our boss's wife." "That's impossible." Just as I was about to finish my sentence, I saw her touching her slightly protruding belly, quickly walking towards the man who had just entered, and throwing herself into his arms. "Liam, can you give me a hug?" She was pregnant, looking very tired, but her smiling eyes and delicate voice were something I had never seen or heard before. What made me feel worse was that the one she was being affectionate with was Liam, the main culprit in my last case as a judge. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say he caused me to lose my job. Yet now my wife was laughing so happily in his arms. I shook suddenly, my hands unconsciously tightening at my sides. Before I could approach, Liam had already picked Sophia up around the waist in front of everyone and was striding towards the elevator. Such a high-profile display of intimacy would make anyone think they were a perfect match. But the one in his arms was my wife. From the main entrance to the elevator is quite a distance, and I had several chances to call out to them, but my hand lifted and then dropped, and in the end, I still didn't say anything. I looked down at the rejected resume in my hands, feeling quite upset. Over the past year, she has borne all the household expenses on her own. It must have been very difficult for her. If it weren't for me, she probably wouldn't have chosen to be with someone else. Ultimately, it's still my lack of ability. On the way home, my mind was racing with thoughts, and I didn't pay attention and took the wrong bus. By the time I took the bus back, it was almost dark when I got home. Thinking about how Sophia would be off work soon, I realized it might be too late to cook for her. I hurried towards the community and saw a familiar luxury car parked at the entrance from a distance. I'm quite familiar with this car. I just saw it at the company entrance after the interview today. As I got closer, I clearly saw my wife and Liam passionately kissing. The resume I was holding was crumpled, and I felt a surge of anger that I couldn't hold back. So I rushed straight towards that luxury car. Just as I took 2 steps, I was called out by an old lady downstairs. "Little Ryan, why aren't you at home cooking for Sophia at this hour, wandering around outside?" The house I live in was left to me by my parents, and most people in the neighborhood know me. Some people gossip behind my back because I don't have a job, but over time, I've grown indifferent to it. That grandmother may speak frankly, but she has a good heart. I have some matters to attend to. I nodded at her and prepared to walk away. Unexpectedly, she suddenly reached out and linked her arm with mine. Grandma, my husband can do whatever he likes. Do you really need to manage him? I turned my head and saw Sophia staring over here. She shot a cold glance at the grandmother, who clicked her tongue and wisely walked away. This isn't the first time she has helped me out of a tough spot. During this year of unemployment, she has deflected so much gossip for me. From the bottom of my heart, I am grateful for her companionship, and I silently resolved to always be worthy of her. In this day and age, relationships are often conditional, but I thought she was an exception. But looking at the smeared lipstick at the corner of her mouth, I found it particularly amusing. She wrapped her arm around me as we walked home, casually asking along the way, "Honey, what are you doing downstairs so late?" I tucked the resume I was holding behind me and pretended to remember, saying that I just saw a video on making soup and wanted to buy a chicken to nourish you. Upon hearing this, the last bit of worry in her eyes disappeared. She shook my arm playfully, and I just knew that my husband treats me the best. As she spoke, she took out 2 examination reports from her bag and whispered to me, "Tell my husband that I suddenly had bleeding while at work today. I went to the hospital for a checkup by myself, fearing that you would worry. The doctor said that the baby is very healthy." After saying that, she playfully winked at me, looking at her lively and adorable appearance, and then at her slightly bulging belly. I couldn't help but wonder which one of her is the real her. I held the examination report and thought of our first child. When I lost my job, the child was only 4 months old. She worried about me every day, and as a result, we couldn't save the baby. A 4-month-old baby can already see facial features, and in the end, we had to induce labor. On the night of her surgery, I leaned against the hospital wall, the tiles cold to the bone. At that time, I told myself that if we had another child, I would treat her well. Who knew the child would come so quickly? We were always cautious, yet he still arrived unexpectedly. The doctor said her body hasn't recovered yet, and getting pregnant now would be very difficult, but she insisted on having this child. She said, "This is our treasure. No matter how hard it is, I want to keep him." The sweet memories of the past flashed before my eyes like a movie, gradually fading the shock of what I witnessed today. We once loved each other deeply, and I believe she just strayed for a moment. As her husband, I have the responsibility to help her find her way back. I spent quite some time tracking Liam's schedule, preparing to talk to him in person. In the cafe, he was sitting face to face with a woman holding a child. I wasn't trying to eavesdrop, but the seats were too close. At first, he spoke very politely, and I thought that woman was his client. It was only when I heard them discussing wedding plans that I realized the person across from him might be his fiancée, named Emma. Emma's family is one of the top wealthy families in New York. It is said that 2 years ago, when Emma's only daughter returned from studying abroad, she was already pregnant, but no one knows who the father of the child is. Although Emma already has a child, everyone knows who is climbing higher in this marriage. So Liam is not single, and he is very obedient to his fiancée. This news is very advantageous for the upcoming negotiations. While I was contemplating the terms of the negotiation, I suddenly heard a child crying behind me. I turned around and saw Emma flusteredly taking out a bottle to soothe the child, but the baby continued to cry. People in the cafe were all looking our way, and some were quietly complaining. Sophia had a miscarriage before, so I am being especially careful now that she is pregnant. Since I found out she was pregnant, I have started reading various related books. At a glance, I could tell that the baby had gas and wasn't hungry. The baby was crying very sadly, and I couldn't just stand by, so I took over to help. I briefly explained to Emma, took the baby from her, held him upright, and gently patted his back. The baby quickly stopped crying, but when I handed him back to Emma, he suddenly bent over and threw up. I dodged quickly, but my cuffs still got a little dirty. I went to the restroom to clean up, and when I returned, only Liam was left at the coffee table. He raised his cup at me from a distance, clearly waiting for me. "Judge Ryan, long time no see. I don't think we need to be polite. Let's get straight to the point. No matter if you want to take revenge on me or have some other reason, please don't come looking for my wife again." He raised an eyebrow. "How do you know it wasn't your wife who initiated it?" In situations like this, men always love to shift the blame onto women. I know this is a common tactic used by men, but I still couldn't help feeling a tightness in my chest. I took a deep breath and slowly said, "Doesn't Miss Emma care about what happened between you two?" "Of course she cares," he said with a smile, still looking confident, But doesn't Sophia's betrayal bother you? I can forgive her this time. I struggled to say it. He scoffed disdainfully. Although he didn't say anything, I felt my dignity was completely belittled by him. She is pregnant with our child. I repeatedly touched the wedding ring on my ring finger, constantly saying, yes, she is pregnant with our child. Upon hearing this, the mockery on his face became even more evident. So what if I told you that the child in her belly is mine? A jolt ran through me. Right, we had always taken precautions, but I instinctively shook my head and said, no, that's impossible. Seeing my flustered expression, he smiled even more broadly. He watched my reaction while throwing out even more shocking words. Can't take it anymore. Did you know? She actually wanted to get rid of your child from the start. Your job was lost because she reported you. You were blacklisted in the industry because she claimed you were too meticulous, and she was worried about others taking care of our son. He suddenly stood up, leaned in to look into my eyes, and said, she personally asked me to blacklist you. I almost lost my balance, staggered forward, grabbed his collar, and with wide eyes said, this is impossible. You must be lying to me. But he didn't even try to break free, just waved behind me. Sophia, you finally arrived. As soon as I heard that, I turned around, surprised to see her. Before long, my eyes were filled with pleading. I wanted her to tell me that what Liam said earlier wasn't true. But before I could say anything, Sophia had already hit me with her bag. Ryan, why aren't you staying at home and instead coming to find Liam? Her bag kept hitting me. It hurt, but the pain in my heart was 1,000 times stronger. Between Liam and me, she chose Liam without any hesitation. I thought that when she found out I knew about her affair, she would at least beg for my forgiveness. Now it seems I was overthinking it. I thought I was important to her. She hit me several times, but I still didn't let go of Liam's hand. She got even angrier and slapped me directly. Ryan, I'm the one who cheated. If you want to hit someone, hit me. My face was burning, and I slowly released my grip on Liam's collar. The sight of my wife yelling at me made me realize that I had completely lost. Liam hugged Sophia in front of me and whispered sweetly in her ear, darling, I'm preparing for our wedding. Just wait a bit longer. Sophia suddenly looked surprised, touched her belly, and raised her chin at me, saying, since it's come to this, I won't hide it from you anymore. Do you really think this child is yours? I'm about to marry into a wealthy family. How could I have a child for a man who relies on women? I've heard the phrase a man who relies on women too many times this past year, but it's the first time I've heard it come out of her mouth. That's really harsh. But isn't all of this because of her? Whispers filled the air. There were people who initially sympathized with me, but once they heard I depend on my wife, their attitude immediately changed. He looks decent, but why does he still rely on a woman to support the family? So he's someone who relies on others. No wonder his wife left him. Yeah, he really brought this upon himself. Ryan looked at me with disdain, holding his head high, looking like a victor. I didn't want to argue anymore, nor was there any need to. If she doesn't care about me, then so be it. Walking home, I couldn't help but think of every moment I spent with Sophia. The more I thought about it, the more I felt that our initial encounter was a bit too coincidental. I became a judge in the court right after I graduated. That year, after my promotion, I was responsible for handling the high-profile VAT fraud case involving the Liam family group in New York. Not long after taking on this case, Sophia suddenly appeared. We are college alumni and participated in the same club activities, but we weren't very familiar with each other. She came from a good family and had a great demeanor. At that time, she was almost the perfect girl in the hearts of all the boys in school. Although I wasn't obsessed with her, I thought she was a nice person during the few interactions we had. I never expected to meet her again after graduation, and I certainly didn't expect her to be in such a difficult situation. She said her family went bankrupt and owed a lot of money, and now she was struggling to even afford meals. Out of consideration for an old classmate, I helped her. Gradually, we ended up together. We had only been together for a month when she said she wanted to get married. I thought it was a bit too fast, but she said she had nowhere to go and wanted me to give her a home. I felt particularly heartbroken upon hearing this, so I immediately went with her to register our marriage. Just a month after getting married, she became pregnant. I went from being a single man to an expectant father in just 2 months. This all happened so suddenly, as if it had been meticulously arranged, and I walked step by step into this trap. I was so happy at the time that I wasn't thinking clearly. When she told me that the case involving Liam's family might be related to her, I was just stunned for a moment, then looked at her belly and reassured her, saying not to worry, pregnant women can apply for house arrest. That day she was particularly happy. I thought it was because of our child. But now I realize she was just relieved that she wouldn't have to go to jail. That child was just her excuse to evade responsibility. Later, someone tried to bribe me to go easy on Liam's case during the ruling, but I refused and made my decision according to the law. As a result, just after the ruling was announced, someone reported me for favoring my wife, claiming I had ulterior motives. I was suspended and under investigation, and during this time, she had a miscarriage. Even though everything was within regulations, it still raised suspicions. The pressure from public opinion was too great, and the case was demanded to be retried, leading to my dismissal from the court. Looking back now, there were many issues with her behavior from the start. If I hadn't trusted her feelings so much, I wouldn't have been deceived so badly by her. Even after discovering her improper relationship with Liam, I thought she was just temporarily confused. I was so naive. Since that's the case, I won't stop her from pursuing a wealthy family, even though the other party already has a fiancé. I called her to ask what time she would be back and to discuss the divorce. When the call connected, no one spoke on the other end. Only some indistinct sounds were heard. After a while, I heard her quietly say, "Don't make a fuss. Be careful with the child," and then she hung up. I prepared the divorce agreement, signed it, packed my things, and left. Although this house was left to me by my parents, since she has lived here, I no longer want it. After speaking with the agent, I messaged her to hurry up and move out. Then I took my suitcase to the airport. Since I couldn't stay here any longer, I decided to start anew in another city. But just as I was choosing a destination at the airport, I suddenly received a strange call, and I could hear a child crying on the other end. "Hello, is this Mr. Ryan? I apologize for contacting you so late. I happened to see your resume and wanted to ask if you are currently looking for a job. I have a job opportunity here. It's to be my son's playmate teacher, with a monthly salary of 100,000 yuan. I wonder if you're interested." A monthly salary of 100,000 yuan is completely beyond my imagination. Although I don't even know what a children's companion teacher does, I agreed immediately. I've been unemployed for too long, and my expected salary kept decreasing as I filled out my resume. Now this 100,000 yuan is almost what I wanted for an entire year. The sound of the child crying on the other end of the phone grew louder, and the other person awkwardly asked me, "When can you start working the soonest?" Lucas kept crying, and I really couldn't calm him down. I looked at the suitcase at my feet and smiled helplessly. I could start working right away. I took a taxi to the address given by the boss, and when I arrived, I found out that my employer was actually Emma Liam's fiancé. Lucas was just still uncomfortable from his previous gas, so I did some gas relief exercises with him again, and he stopped crying so much. After I got Lucas to sleep, Emma pointed downstairs and said I could choose any room as my bedroom. After a simple chat, I roughly understood what a children's companion teacher does. This is a new profession that has emerged in recent years, and a complete industry has already begun to form in big cities. In simple terms, it's that parents are too busy with work and don't have time to take care of their children, so they hire high-end talent to replace them. This way, they can accompany the children and help them build a solid foundation from a young age. Because this job requires staying at the employer's home all day, it's similar to being a nanny, and not many people are willing to do it. Moreover, wealthy families have particularly high demands for those who accompany their children, so the pool of candidates becomes even smaller. With few people and high demand, salaries naturally go up. A monthly salary of 100,000 yuan is considered just average here. For the first time, I feel that studying hard in the past was the right thing to do. Emma told me that she plans to go to an island for a few days and asked me to pack Lucas's luggage in advance, and also to prepare lessons to see if I can teach Lucas some geography along the way. After receiving the task, I immediately started preparing. I was preparing lessons in the bedroom when Sophia suddenly called me on a video call. I felt there was no need for video, so I switched to a voice call instead. After switching to voice, I didn't expect Sophia to hang up on me right away. As I was wondering what was going on with her, my phone suddenly vibrated, and she sent me a video. I opened it to find her standing in the middle of the island in light clothing, with a group of staff behind her setting up a flower wall. Her tone was filled with pride and boasting, asking if the island was beautiful, right? "In a few days, I will have my wedding with Liam here. I saw the message you sent. I agree to the divorce. Send me the agreement, and I will sign it and send it back to you. I don't want the things at home anymore. Liam said he would buy me new ones." She wanted to keep talking, but I didn't want to listen anymore. I don't care about her and Liam anymore. Thanks to the fast logistics, I received the divorce agreement from Sophia before I left. This major issue that has been weighing on my mind has finally been resolved. The journey went particularly smoothly. It was Lucas's first time on a plane, and I had prepared a lot of travel tips to share with him. Lucas was very attentive, occasionally asking innocent and interesting questions, which was especially cute. The originally dull trip felt like it passed very quickly, but after getting off the plane, I saw many missed calls from Sophia on my phone. She messaged me asking, "Did you change the password at home?" Then she followed up with, "What right do you have to change the password? What is the new password? Hurry up and tell me." I'm a bit puzzled as to why she suddenly came back right before the wedding preparations. But that place hasn't been her home for a long time. I sent her a message to decline, but she immediately called me. At that moment, Emma turned to me and said I should make time to buy Lucas a suit, because she wants him to be the flower boy at her wedding in a couple of days. Wedding? Is Emma coming to the island to get married? Liam's wedding for Sophia is also being held on the island. He can't possibly want to marry two people at the same time, right? That would really save a lot of trouble. Seeing that I hadn't answered for a while, Emma asked me, "Is there anything you find inappropriate?" I thought for a moment, took out my phone, found the video Sophia had sent me earlier, and handed it to Emma. "Take a look. Is this the kind of scene you want for your wedding?" She watched for a few seconds, nodded, and said it did look quite similar. "Is the groom Liam?" I asked softly. She nodded. I thought for a long time and ultimately decided to talk about Liam and Emma's situation. Even though Emma and I are getting divorced now, if their affair is discovered later, I might still get implicated. I don't want to lose my job because of her again. Moreover, after spending time together these days, Emma is a really good boss, and I don't want her to continue being with someone unreliable. After hearing my words, Emma was slightly taken aback, then shrugged nonchalantly, saying let's just treat it as a vacation. I'm not attending the wedding. A wedding without a bride is more interesting. After saying that, she walked alone towards the scenic hotel, while I pushed my suitcase behind her. Emma was staying in the hotel's most expensive scenic suite, which naturally had the best view. But because the view was so good, I could see the wedding venue being nervously prepared very clearly. I immediately took out my phone, planning to call the front desk to change my room. At that moment, Emma reached out to stop me, saying that from this angle, I could enjoy the spectacle. I stood by the window, staring at the wedding venue outside for a long time. The images from Sophia's video overlapped with the scene outside, her arrogant words and past actions flashing through my mind. Although we have already parted ways, the hurt she caused me cannot disappear. The phone screen lit up again. It was another hurtful message from Sophia. I don't know what Liam said to coax her back. Clearly, she's a president's wife. Yet she couldn't even stay in a hotel and insisted on arguing with me to go home. But where is home anymore? My fingers were turning white as I gripped my phone, and finally, the bad thoughts buried deep inside me surfaced. I turned off my phone and asked Emma, "Do you want to make this show more exciting?" I went to great lengths to find Sophia's college best friend. I heard they lost contact after Sophia's family went bankrupt. I paid her off and even hired someone to pretend to be a staff member, saying Ryan wanted to give Sophia a surprise. Emma was quite interested in my play and even made a cameo. On the wedding day, she really wore a wedding dress. Liam thought his relationship with Emma was settled. This wedding invited almost all the celebrities in New York and even called in several media outlets for live coverage, wanting to showcase the strength of the Liam family. But when the wedding music started and he stood on stage, seeing the bride slowly walking down the aisle, the smile on his face suddenly froze. Emma was lying in the observation room's rocking chair, holding a telescope, and when she saw Liam's pale face, she couldn't help but laugh. She hadn't even changed out of her wedding dress and hurried back to watch the excitement. Usually, she presents a serious leadership image in front of me, but now she revealed a childish side, which was quite adorable. Someone gently tugged at my sleeve, and Grandma Lucas's voice came from the side. "Mr. Ryan, why are you smiling at the child's mother?" I quickly cleared my throat and redirected Lucas's attention to the tablet. "Lucas, do you recognize this instrument in the picture?" The little guy was indeed distracted by me, and immediately tugged at my sleeve, asking all sorts of questions. After I finished explaining to him, I went back to watch the wedding live stream, only to find it had already ended early. I hurriedly turned to look out the window. Although I couldn't hear anything, I could roughly guess what was happening from the scene before me. All the guests stood up, preparing to leave. The attendees were all New York elites, and their schedules were precise to the minute. They made time to attend Emma's daughter's wedding. only to find it was nothing like they were told. Liam apologized to each table, but it was of no use. At this time, Sophia, who was nearby, asked Liam unhappily what was going on. Liam found her annoying and gave her a shove. Sophia, wearing high heels, lost her balance and fell straight down. But Liam had no intention of helping her and walked away without looking back. Sophia was not one to give up easily. She rushed over and hugged Liam's leg. From a distance, her mouth kept moving, but I couldn't hear what she was saying. I sighed, feeling a bit regretful. Such an exciting scene, yet there was no sound. Someone suddenly held out a phone in front of me, the screen displaying the chaotic scene. Emma stretched and said, "Plan B." I smiled in understanding, suddenly feeling that the woman in the wedding dress had a special charm. Before I could sort out my thoughts, a scream suddenly came from the phone, pulling my attention back. Liam actually kicked at Sophia, who curled up on the ground in pain, rolling and holding her head. Only when Sophia lost her strength and let go of Liam's leg did he stop, turning to chase after the group of executives leaving. He turned and left without even looking back. If he had just glanced back, he would have seen Sophia lying in a pool of blood. On the phone, Sophia clutched her stomach, panicking and shouting, "My baby! Save my baby!" Surrounded by many people, but no one paid attention. Emma put away the phone, hugged the wedding dress, and walked towards the bedroom, casually saying, "The show was good, thanks. As for whether to save someone, that's up to you." After saying that, she took Lucas and left. I looked out the window. The lively wedding had quickly dispersed. The place that was filled with people just moments ago now only had the bride lying in a pool of blood. I averted my gaze and called for an ambulance. From now on, we owe each other nothing. Emma had urgent work to handle and had to leave the island early. On the way back, the hospital called me. "Hello, are you a relative of the patient? The patient is fine now. We need you to settle the payment." I calmly said that I am not a relative. Upon hearing this, the doctor's tone became somewhat stern. "Can you men take responsibility? Her phone noted you as her husband. Now your wife has miscarried, and you haven't even shown your face. How is that acceptable?" I took a deep breath and replied, "We are already divorced. The child is not mine." After saying that, I hung up the phone directly. I thought this would be my last connection with her. But a week later, the hospital called me again. They asked if I could contact her other family members because her medical bills were over $3,000. And if the payment wasn't made soon, the hospital would stop her treatment. I told them I couldn't help and hung up the phone. To my surprise, when I looked up, I ran into Liam at the entrance of the community. It's the weekend, and Emma finally had some free time, saying she wanted to take Lucas to the zoo. But just as they left, they realized they forgot to bring formula and asked me to rush it over. I was waiting at the security booth for Emma's car to come up from the garage, but Liam mistook me for a security guard. "Oh, you're still in New York. I thought you wouldn't last and would have escaped to another city by now. You really know how to adapt. A prestigious NYU graduate like you is actually working as a security guard here." As he said this, he even patted my shoulder and arrogantly said, "Let's do this. If you let me in, we can call our past grievances even." I pushed his hand away and said, "Sorry, that's not a decision I can make." Hearing this, his expression darkened, and he pointed at my chest, angrily saying, "Ryan, don't be ungrateful. I have the power to make sure you can't be a lawyer, and I can also make it so you can't even keep your security job. You better be smart about this." He continued to threaten me, when suddenly a car sped by closely, startling him. He turned around, about to explode in anger, but saw the car window slowly rolling down, revealing Emma's face. His expression changed immediately, and with a big smile, he said, "Emma, it's you. Your driving skills are really impressive." Emma didn't respond, just waved at me, and I quickly walked over to hand her the formula. Liam looked surprised and asked, "Aren't you a security guard?" Emma raised an eyebrow and said, "We live together now." Liam was stunned and stammered, I am worse than him?" "Worse in what way?" Emma looked him up and down and coldly replied, "In every way." After saying that, she suddenly waved for me to get in the car. I thought for a moment and felt that going to the zoo would be more fun with all three of us together. I saw Liam still standing there in a daze through the rearview mirror. As the car slowly drove out of the community, I thanked Emma for speaking up for me earlier. Emma waved her hand and said, "Then I should thank you for blocking my romantic advances. We are even now." Ever since we watched a great show together on the island, the distance between us suddenly closed. We were no longer in a superior-subordinate relationship, but rather more like friends. At the zoo, Emma saw how knowledgeable I was about each animal and asked me in surprise, "Are you an encyclopedia?" I smiled and replied that I had just done my homework in advance, and originally planned to teach Lucas after he returned from the zoo. Being able to explain it on site is even better. Emma nodded approvingly at me, saying, "I knew you could be trusted." It had been a long time since someone praised me, and suddenly hearing that from her made me a bit shy, so I turned my head to avoid her gaze. Seeing me shy made her even more excited. Mimicking Lucas's tone, she sweetly asked, "Teacher Ryan, how does a zebra wear black and white stripes?" I lowered my head and happened to meet her smiling eyes. At that moment, she seemed far from being a CEO. She was just a little girl who hadn't grown up. Thinking of this, I gently patted Lucas's head. She must have gone through a lot of hardships when she decided to have Lucas on her own back then, right? As the days passed, it quickly came time for Lucas to get his vaccinations. I took the vaccination book and brought Lucas to the hospital. While waiting in line to pay, I unexpectedly ran into Liam coming out of the obstetrics and gynecology department. I was just about to pretend I didn't see him, but he stepped forward and stopped me. This time, his tone is much gentler. Unlike the last time when he was so overbearing. "Sophia is weak after her miscarriage and is still hospitalized. She was just transferred back from the hospital on the island a few days ago. Do you want to go see her?" I shook my head firmly. "No thanks." After saying that, he turned to leave, but he grabbed my wrist and said, "I found out that you're currently helping Emma take care of the kids. If you say a few good words for me in front of her, I can pay you." Before I could say anything, Lucas in my arms raised his little fist and shouted, "My mom gives teacher Ryan 100,000 every month. Can you compare to how rich my mom is?" 100,000. A sharp female voice suddenly interrupted. I turned around to see Sophia still in her hospital gown. I didn't want to have anything to do with them anymore, so I held Lucas and was about to leave, but Sophia suddenly grabbed my wrist. "Ryan, let's make up." I turned back and glared at her. How dare she think like that? She has done so many outrageous things to me, and she still expects me to forgive her. Seeing that I remained silent, she raised her hand and swore to the heavens, "Ryan, this time I will really live well with you." After saying that, she shot a fierce glare at Liam. "I will never have any dealings with him again." Liam heard this and quickly grabbed my other hand. "That's right. I've completely cut ties with her. You all just take good care of yourselves and say a few good words for me in front of Emma." I looked at the two of them and suddenly stepped back, breaking free from their hands. I don't need it anymore. At this point, the pediatrician had already called out Lucas's name, but Liam was still holding me back, pleading softly, "Please, even if you won't speak for me, can you at least tell me Emma's schedule? I really have no way out. Please help me." He was gripping my hand, trembling continuously. Even his lips were quivering. It seemed he was truly in a tough spot. I heard that because of that wedding, the partners who had previously reached out suddenly backed out, and even the investors withdrew their funds overnight, nearly collapsing the Liam family's financial chain. Even government departments came to the company to audit the accounts, and the whole company was cooperating with the investigation. Looking at Liam now, these rumors are probably true. He used to be so high and mighty in front of me, and now he's actually begging me. Is this satisfying? It is indeed quite satisfying, but I will absolutely not reveal anything about Emma. I was thinking about how to avoid the two of them when suddenly the police appeared in front of us. "They are going to take Sophia away." Sophia blurted out, "I'm pregnant, but this is the obstetrics and gynecology department. Her child has long been gone." As soon as Liam saw the police, he hurriedly slipped away, and in the blink of an eye, the previously chaotic scene was left with just me and Lucas. I suddenly understood why Sophia couldn't reach Liam while she was hospitalized on the island, and now he was taking the initiative to see her. Perhaps the situation had been exposed, and he came to make Sophia keep quiet. It seems that the lucky escape from years ago made Liam even more reckless, and Sophia was just a tool he used in the name of love. His plan was originally flawless. Sophia, pregnant, took the blame for him, while Emma's family power was maneuvering for him, and I was like a nanny, bustling around for them. But unfortunately, I happened to catch him discussing marriage with Emma that day. He had no choice but to take the risk and kick me out of the game early. But he didn't expect that I, this seemingly insignificant character, would end up disrupting his entire plan. The elevator doors slowly closed, and I pulled back my thoughts, squatting down to gently ruffle Lucas's hair. "Did you see that, Lucas? That was the police just now. What should we do if we encounter bad people in the future?" Lucas said in a childish voice, "To find the police." I nodded and took Lucas to see the pediatrician. During dinner, Emma talked to me about Sophia and Liam. She said Sophia was an accountant at Liam's company and got caught for cooking the books, and was taken away today. If she were pregnant, she might have served her sentence outside. But unfortunately, she just had a miscarriage, so she will definitely go to jail this time. After a few days, I heard new news during dinner. Sophia confessed, and Liam was also arrested. Emma picked up the decanter and poured me a drink, saying today is a good day. We should have a toast. Looking at her innocent and carefree appearance, I smiled and shook my head, but still clinked glasses with her. Time flies, and in the blink of an eye, 2 years have passed. Lucas is ready for kindergarten. After careful consideration, I submitted my resignation letter to Emma. That night, in her study, she gently pushed over a men's ring and smiled, asking if I wanted to try being Lucas's dad if I wasn't going to be a children's companion. I have feelings for her, but given the current situation, I cannot marry her yet. I returned the ring to her and said let's talk about it later. I had long noticed the high demand for child companion services, and since I understand the law and have dealt with government departments before, starting the company went smoothly. I conducted market research in advance and saved 2 years' worth of startup capital. Unexpectedly, someone approached me to invest. On the first day of the company's opening, Emma came to my office. She directly sat in my boss's chair and took out a card from her bag, saying she wanted to invest. The money came so suddenly that I hadn't even reacted. She didn't even conduct an assessment and just wanted to give me money. She said what she valued was not the company, but me as a person. I felt capable of not disappointing her, so I didn't refuse. With Emma's investment, I felt more confident in my work, and the company grew faster. In less than a year, almost all wealthy families in New York hired child companions from my company. On the day the branch office opened, I held Lucas and cut the cake together. When Lucas cut the cake, he noticed the ring on top and quietly asked me, "Mr. Ryan, do you want to be my dad?" In front of everyone, I knelt on one knee to Emma and asked, "Will you?" Emma pretended to be reserved as she extended her hand, saying, "Let's make do." Amidst everyone's cheers, Emma and I hugged tightly. Lucas was pulling on our clothes from below, shouting, "Mom and Dad, don't forget about me."